we're all human.
I agree.
And I think,
I mean,
you're right.
I mean,
I agree. So tell me about the Arts and Enrichment Academy.
oh, the Arts and Enrichment Academy. Okay, I didn't know we were talking about that today. I'm just kidding.
We'll take a hard left.
Just
No,
kidding.
man, I dude, honestly, like, there's so many different levels to you, man. Like, as a musician, I've admired you, man. When I was in high school, dude, like I just looked up to you,
Appreciate that, bro.
and I still do in so many ways.
Was it the music thing, like playing in bands and stuff
Oh,
and singing
dude,
and
you
stuff?
were a rock star, bro.
I
Are you kidding
appreciate you,
me?
bro.
Man.
Thank you. What are you talking about? Word, motherfucker.
I mean, to this day, man, like to parlay the experience and the talent into everything that you do.
Thanks, man.
It's
I appreciate
crazy.
that, dude. I appreciate the kind words, man. You know what's funny is I kind of tell you how the Arts and Enrichment Academy came to be. I was about 22 years old, and I was I was like I didn't have a job, at the time, and playing in bands and shit and singing for bands and stuff. And
You have one of the best cover songs I've ever heard in my entire
was it the Regulate one?
100%.
Okay, so yeah, Half Ton did a version of Regulate. You guys can look that up. Look up Half Ton,
dude,
Regulate, and then you'll see our hard rock version of Regulate.
it is one of the best
It's pretty
cover
fun.
songs.
I don't know
of all
about that,
time.
but I appreciate you, Brad. Thank you
No.
very much.
No, as a matter of fact,
So before I got into Half Ton, a few years before I got into Half Ton, I was in 8 Count actually at the time, and I started working for the school district. I was doing after school programs, and I would go in, and it was a 3-hour day in the after school program. It was a half hour of sign in and a half hour of sign out, and it was an hour of free play and an hour of homework. And it was like the program leaders would help the kids with their homework, but free play was just like free play, it was just like whatever recess, and so it was essentially like a glorified babysitting service, like
Sure.
the after school program, which was called WRAP, Winners Reaching Amazing Potential, WRAP, for that was the WRAP program. I think they still have it actually. So Long Beach Unified School District. Anyway, so I was at John Muir Elementary School in West Long Beach at the time, and I go in, I'm working there for a couple weeks, and I'm just like, I can't do it. I'm like pulling my hair out with these kids. I'm like, I have the 3rd grade class, and I just tell my boss, I'm like, listen, I have to do something that's enjoyable for me with these kids. Can I bring in my guitar and do some music with them? And he was like, absolutely, dude. So I bring my guitar in one day, and I start playing music with the kids. We start singing songs. It starts being super fun. I started doing like music on Mondays and Wednesdays, and then like chess with them on Tuesdays and
That's awesome.
Thursdays.
Do you play chess?
Oh yeah.
Oh, dude, I'm a chess fanatic.
But no, so I started running all these different types of like groups with the kids, but the music one was the one that was the funnest. And one day, a couple weeks in, I'm like, hey, do you guys want to write a song with me? Because I'm a songwriter,
Yeah.
So I'm like, you guys want to write a song? And they're like, yeah, let's write a song. I take the kids, I kind of teach them like all about like the structure of songs and how songwriting works and stuff. And we write a song together. Like I let the kids choose the key, the tempo, the everything, and then we talk the topic and everything. So we write this song, right? Me and the 3rd graders. It's called I Will Succeed, right? And then we performed it and this is before like I had ever learned to record anything, before I'd ever had like a recording studio at my house or anything like that, So we performed it at the school, at like the auditorium for like some sort of, assembly or whatever that they had. And the principal comes up to me and she's like, that song was amazing. Like, you guys wrote that? And I'm like, yeah. And she goes, would you teach it to the 5th graders so they could sing it at their graduating ceremonies? And so I'm like, yeah, for sure, And like in that moment, I kind of like realized like, hey, like this isn't necessarily a one-off. Like there's something here. Like there's
Right.
something to what I did here with this curriculum. So I essentially like made it an actual curriculum, and I started serving that curriculum at multiple schools in Long Beach Unified School District. And at the time, I worked for a nonprofit organization called Campfire USA, and they served about 10 different schools in the after school program. So I was at one, and then I would move to the other for a little bit, and then I got picked up by a different company, International Center of Education and Sports, and I stopped doing that, and I was a site director for a little while at some after school programs. But that thing had kind of developed itself, and I had worked in this after school program. Well, a couple years later, my very first boss at that school, Arnold, called me and he goes, hey, let's make our own nonprofit organization. And he goes, what should we do? Like, what should our thing be? And I'm like, dude, my music curriculum, dude. Let's do the, So we're like,
Right.
hell yeah. So we put the music curriculum into play. he called me like 2 weeks later. He's like, I got us a meeting at another nonprofit organization that picked us up and contracted us. And we were in like 5 schools in like a month. And we were running like 5 different programs at these schools, like songwriters workshops. We were running a filmmaking program where we like shot like a trailer for a movie that doesn't exist with the kids, like proof of concept. Like, dude, geared the kids up, like shot the whole thing with. Bro, well, we get together and we write the songs with these kids, and we record them. We take a professional recording studio into the classroom, and the kids get to write, and they get to write their own songs. They get to record them, play the instruments, sing them, do the whole thing. So essentially, that's what the Arts Enrichment Academy is now. Is my old partner and I started this. He ended up moving to Washington, and I ended up taking over full responsibilities. But this is what it is essentially: is we take a group of kids, usually up to about 15. We don't like to go too much over 15 because we still want to be able to have the individual, connections and aspects. We don't want to go too crowded,
Right.
And generally it's usually between like 7 and 15 per group. And we teach the kids all about how music is constructed. And it's all engaged. Like we have like group discussions, never a lecture. If it's something like that, it's a group discussion. It's, if we're playing instruments, everybody's got an instrument, or we're like, at least 25% of the class is literally hands-on engaged at the same time before they just like switch stations to whatever else. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, we never let it be like one kid's doing something and the rest of the class is watching.
Right.
Never, ever. It's always like fully engaged, and everybody's doing. They learn by doing, by engaging. We never sit there and lecture these kids. Like, it's not part of our curriculum at all. It's just not even baked into it at all.
Well, that's what I love about it, man, because so many times, being on school board and like, going to all these conferences, people always talk about project-based learning.
Dude.
And it's like a very like big concept thing. But what you're doing, you're actually doing the things that they're talking about in a very specific and intentional way.
Absolutely, dude. It's 100% project-based arts enrichment learning. So we take every single session that we do with these kids, even if we're with a group for a year, so every session between 60 and 90 days. And usually a session will last 60 days. So if we do one for an annual year, we might like work for a month on like, hey, let's like work on stage performance.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Whereas we're not necessarily
kind of like
writing that
down.
Yeah.
Right.
But
it's still for the ultimate goal.
Correct. And then
the
it'll jump. And then when our performances hit, kids are dancing on stage. They're not just lined up singing. We got people playing instruments. We got dancing. We got this. You see what I'm saying? Like, it ends up turning into we don't just recycle the program over and over and over again, especially for the kids who have been in it for years. We literally have kids who have been in our program since they were middle school that are now in their 20s, dude. That are now in their 20s. We serve a lot of developmentally disabled young adults and children, and we work with the Long Beach Adult Community Transition Program, which is 18 to 22 developmentally disabled young adults, and it's they're learning to transition into the workplace.
How do they do in the program?
Amazing. Unbelievable, dude. And like I said, even some of our students, one of our students who just graduated was in it since he was in middle school, since he was in 7th grade, and he just turned 22. So he's been in our program since then.
Why do you think it resonates so much with that population?
Man, you know what? I can't.
A loaded question.
I can't tell you that, but I can say this. The very first program we ever did with our special needs population was an extended school year program during the summer at Marshall Middle School. And that was when the student that I'm telling you about, that was his first year in our program too. I didn't run that program personally. One of my staff members did. My old executive director actually did. I go to the school one day, right? And one of the parents pulls me aside and says, "What are you doing in this class?" And I'm sitting here thinking like we did something wrong. Like, what do I gotta like smooth? Like, what happened? Like, because we usually have nothing but like stoked parents, stoked teachers, stoked liaisons. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, our program is just kind of designed to like have highest satisfaction, because nobody's going to be in it that doesn't want to be there. So we don't have to worry about behavior management.
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying? And then every single person down the line gets benefited from it. The student, the parent gets to see their kid be in a program and watch their kid grow in ways that I can't really explain verbally. The society gets to have great arts programming that has largely been stripped away from schooling, from schools, especially in California over the last 30 years, so they get to see a re-injection of creative project-based arts programming that their kids, their community is now getting to benefit from. Then you see these kids also, dude, a kid that learns an instrument before 12 is 50% likely to ever try drugs or alcohol. 35% higher test scores across the board of a kid who's learned an instrument or has even started to learn music before the age of 12. They scored 35% higher on average than their counterparts in school that haven't learned music. There's so
Does
much.
Does it depend on instrument?
Doesn't.
I would imagine accordion is less.
Bro, more. Accordion is one of the hardest instruments to.
I could see it, dude.
Accordion is an unbelievably difficult instrument to learn, dude.
Yeah. Highly underrated.
So everybody, all the way up to even like the penal system, like our local senators get to brag about getting these programs being in their districts. You see what I'm saying? Like there's less like kids that are going to be subjected to maybe criminal activities as they get older because they picked up a musical instrument, because they use their minds to create something like this at such an early age. And dude, these programs are for people that have never picked up an instrument or for people who have a master's degree in an instrument. You can come into our program. In fact, as a matter of fact, I know a bunch of musicians in Long Beach, but songwriters are very few and far between. Songwriters you don't find very often. In fact, some of the best musicians I know have never written a song. This program opens up doors for people. And I'll go back to the story I was telling you about the kid in the summer program. His mom pulls me aside and goes, "What are you doing in this program?" I say, "What do you mean?" Usually we have high satisfaction rating with with everybody.
We only take compliments.
You're gonna have to turn,
what are you bringing to
you're
me
gonna have to shut that shit down now, lady. No. So she says, and her son's name was Anthony. I remember this. And she says, "Well, my son's been mostly nonverbal throughout his life. And recently he's been singing around the house." I said, "Really?" And she goes, "Yeah. And it's weird, but he asked me if he could DJ his cousin's birthday party. And he doesn't ever like to be the center of attention. But now he wants to be the center of attention at his cousin's birthday party. He wants to DJ it. He wants to be the person providing the music at the party. And then he is now singing around the house. And by the end of our program, he came up to me and asked me if he could do a drum solo in our music performance." Music, dude, it does things to people, dude. And it's one of those things. Like I said, I saw this kid have this complete arc in just the summer of our like when we run our program at that school, that and not just him. Like the other kids in the program showed similar things, but it wasn't as drastic as this particular student. But since then, I've seen that type of thing happen. And I've seen multiple students since then that were like nonverbal for the most part, start singing, become much more engaged in conversation with their family in their home. And certain things along these lines, and become more interested in performance and doing things, playing instruments and wanting to kind of come out of their shells. So I've seen a huge difference in students all throughout the special needs community, throughout the times that we've been serving them. In that particular way, we've seen a lot of things along those lines, and not to mention just the sheer joy and the sheer satisfaction of these kids being in these programs and getting what they're getting out of them, performing, going to these performances, becoming a star. I mean, when these kids come to get up on these stage and they have their entire peer group and parents and their communities there to watch them and cheering them on when they're doing their songs that they wrote. They're not covering songs. They wrote these. You know what I mean? And they get to show that video or that that song on Spotify or YouTube for the rest of their lives to their families and say, I did that.
Right.
You know what I mean? General education, special education, doesn't matter. Everybody, 5 to 95, instrument, no instrument, musician, not musician, you can take our class and enjoy it. And it's like, it's like being on a baseball team, but for music that writes music. You come twice a week and you have a class and there's something about that too. It's weird because in baseball, even in sports, there's a lot of competition, even like inner competition that goes on in teams. In this, it's trippy because when kids start like singing together, they almost instantly like drop their they like become less inhibited around each other. Right. They become more supportive of each other. They're like social.
Because you're vulnerable with
exactly. Yeah. And these kids, they're
that's why I never sing in front of groups. I never want to be bored.
Their confidence goes through the roof. Their teamwork skills goes through the roof. Not just the music part. It's like this whole character building thing that happens like in these programs, bro.
Dude, that's what it is.
It's wild, dude. It's crazy.
It's so deep.
So I've played in front of a lot of people before, and those were some of the most rewarding times of my life, up until the kids in my groups started performing, and I saw them perform, and the kid, like just seeing the parents like joy and the kids joy performing, like that was infinitely more rewarding than being on stage with a microphone in my hand myself. Seeing what the change that this program had made in these kids' lives and their families' lives, it just was like, it's almost unequivocal, you know, the feeling of, I was at this group of my kids were performing the other day on Friday at a community thing. It was a big, huge event for developmentally disabled family or kids and their families and stuff. And I was there and my kids were performing, and I'm like there, like videotaping it, you know, and I'm there and I'm tearing up, you know, because it says this is a rewarding thing. Like, you know, I'm like, you know, I created.
Dude, I tear up every time.
Like I create. They're not even my kids. They're just like my students. I don't even know half of them, you know. And I'm like tearing up and shit. And I'm like, I got the camera. I got the camera, and I'm looking through the camera, and like I turn around and I like look at all the parents behind me, and none of them are crying, and the only one crying.
That's funny.
They were like, "Who is this random weirdo crying in front of our
mustache?"
I know, yeah. I'm like, oh, it's hilarious, dude. But like, that's the kind of rewarding feeling I get when I see my program in effect and I see what the kids get out of what it is, you know.
Purpose is.
So, yeah. Hey,
That's
I like
awesome.
that. Thank you very much for saying that, because sometimes I feel like I've fallen short a lot. Dude, when I started this program, like, do you think I said like, hey, I'm going to do this and like, I'm going to start this curriculum and like, developmentally disabled people are gonna like find their voice? No. Fuck. I didn't know. No clue. I didn't know that music affected people in that type of a way. I know how it affects me. I know that like in my life, when I found music, it was something that I cannot explain. I was standing there. I was watching Silverchair at the Palace in Hollywood. I was 16 years old, 15 years old, 16 years old. I'm watching Daniel Johns play, and I'm watching Silverchair rocking out.
What's Silverchair's main song?
Tomorrow was their first. You're gonna wait till Fat Boy.
Yeah.
Fat Boy. That one.
Yeah, dude. What do you call it when you get something from a library? You don't rent it. You check out. I checked out like Silverchair's
the
CD.
Frog Stomp. Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
All right, so
that's the song.
That's it. So, but the whole album was fire, dude.
Only you could do that, by the way. Like,
dude. So
anybody else trying to explain that song, I wouldn't have. But yeah,
that's funny. So he's up there singing, and I've never played an instrument in my life, dude. I was all baseball and martial arts up until then. My dad owned martial arts schools. I grew up in martial arts schools. I thought I would just own martial arts schools and be a martial arts instructor too. You know what I'm saying? Like 16 years old, 15 years old, I'm watching this guy just command the crowd, just killing it, guitar, singing. Everybody's singing his words back to him, and I'm like. And the energy that like just started buzzing through my body, I was like, oh shit, dude. I was like, And I looked at him and I looked at the crowd and I looked up at him and I thought to myself, I can do that. I was like, I can do that.
Really?
And oh, dude, it felt like
that.
It felt like
from
I
a
could,
singing, like
bro.
From like a creative point, or like you're like, I could sing that.
It was like energy, it was like lightning struck me, and I was like, I was like, this is what I was put on this world to do. That what he's doing right there
at that concert. You were like,
right then in that moment, dog. I felt like I could reach up and grab his talent and take it away from him. That's how real.
Was it during that song?
No, it was just during the show. Like it was in the middle of the show, and I felt like I felt like his talent was a tangible thing that I could reach up and actually take away from him and have.
What was it? Because like because of where his talent was, you're like, I can do that. Like
no, he was good. He was amazing, and I'm just sitting there. I've never played a guitar. I've sang around my house and in the shower like everybody does, but I'd never taken any kind of music seriously until that moment in my life. 15. And I looked at this guy and I instantly in that moment knew that was what I was going to do for the rest of my life. And I almost
with Silverchair.
And within a year, I had not stopped, but I had focused my life on music. I turned from martial arts almost instantly towards music. And I still study martial arts to this day. Like, I still work out with my dad every week. We still go over all kinds of stuff,
To this day?
To this day.
No
I was
shit.
at my dad's last night working out.
Just doing karate.
Straight up. Absolutely. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
We were going over short form 3. IKKA short form 3.
Silverchair.
2 Silverchair. Fuck yeah, dude. So, nah, dude. So,
you got me wanting to listen to Silverchair.
Bro, Silverchair is killer, dog. Their first 2 albums were good, bro. And I'm telling you, but like, no, that's what made me want to play music, dude. Like, that's
called Fat Boy.
It's called Tomorrow.
Okay,
that song's called Tomorrow. But yeah, man.
Yeah.
So that's what made me gave me the energy, it made me want to shift my life into a musical thing. And then, like I said, I smoked daily for decades, and I was, a recording artist, a touring musician, and was able to do my job spot on. Never an issue. When I was drunk. When I was drinking, before I stopped drinking almost 17 years ago, that was a problem. That was the problem.
When did it become a problem?
It was always a problem. I was just able to function enough. So I was able to function enough to where it was, to where I didn't have to stop the things I was doing. You know what I mean?
What drove the behavior though?
Of alcoholism, of my drinking. Yeah. It was just something that I did, it was just something I enjoyed. There was nothing that really pushed me into being an alcoholic or loving drinking. I haven't taken a drink in almost 17 years, and I can tell you right now, I could tell you right now, thank you. Awesome. I could tell you right now, if I had a drink of whiskey, I would enjoy every single drop, dog. Oh yeah, bro.
Bust it out.
A good glass. Oh, bro. A good glass of whiskey is just. But here's the thing.
It must have gotten to a point where you were like, dude, this cannot happen.
Yeah. Well, it was Eric.
Okay.
So Eric came over to my house one day, and it was right after my grandmother had passed, and that was kind of the catalyst that really sent my alcoholism over the edge. I took care of my grandmother for 11 years. She had Alzheimer's, and it was just me and her in that house. And it went from her with a walker over time to her being in a wheelchair to my grandmother, my mom's mom. Okay. And so I moved in with her when I was 17, and she passed when I was 28, and it was just her and I in that house. Like I said, for 11 years. So. And she was one of the most influential people to me as a kid anyway. So when she passed, she was my main reason for living for 11 years. Wow. Every day was taking care of my grandmother.
So she had a kind of
Alzheimer's.
Mother's role?
Kind of, yeah. My mom was always in my life, and I love my mother, and I have a great relationship with my mom. But my grandmother, or something about my grandmother was, I feel like I learned a lot from my grandmother. I feel like I learned a lot about life from my grandmother.
Just from talking?
100%. And from experiencing things.
Was there a line of communication with you and your grandma that maybe wasn't present anywhere else?
I think so. I can't necessarily articulate that particularly, but I can say that there was something. There was an energy that I
just connected.
Yeah, 100%. And all through my life. And when she passed, and then again, as that was when I was a child, and then when I got to be an adult, I took care of her for 11 years in her declining state, in her declining
she had dementia?
Alzheimer's. Yeah, correct.
Okay.
And that was just, heart-wrenching experience, and
Yeah.
and this is like pre-internet. Like, this is like when you couldn't, you didn't, there was no like support groups. There was no people who were going through what you were going. I couldn't reach out to anybody to like ask for help or
It's like
ask
a silent
questions.
struggle.
It was dude, taking care of a family member who's ailing is one of the most like,
so many people deal with it, but nobody, like, everybody feels like
bro,
they're so isolated.
I am so grateful for every moment I got to spend with my grandmother, but watching her decline was one of the most heartbreaking things I've ever experienced in my life.
Yeah.
And when she passed away, that sent my alcoholism like way over the edge.
How long did it take?
Like, it was instant. It was, in fact, as she was declining, like once she went back into the hospital, dude, she went into the hospital at 87 years old and got cataract surgery on one eye, came out of the hospital, and her quality of life shot through the roof. Like, her cognition went up, like like being able to experience things like went up, and the doctor was like, "Oh, I'm stoked. Let's do the other eye before the holidays."
Right.
He did the other eye while she was in getting the other eye, the cataract surgery for her other eye. She contracted staph. That was it. That was it. She went downhill from there, and it killed her. And during her decline, while she had staph, I was losing control of my self at that time, and that's when my alcoholism started to peak. And then at the same time, there were like things that were happening, like in the like they weren't, like, I felt that the level of care that she was receiving was was subpar, and not only subpar, but was actually factoring into her decline, is what I was,
But you're also a very protective person.
Yeah.
Right. So like, I could imagine that you were just like very critical of the level of care.
Yeah, I was.
I'm assuming.
For sure. And my grandmother was, having Alzheimer's, there was no advocating for herself. And again, it was just her and I.
You have to become the advocate.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I remember one time, like, and my grandmother just didn't, like, her and I had like a connection. Like, I mean, my mom was in lived in her house in Lakewood, and we were in Long Beach, but we didn't, so one time my grandmother fell and broke her hip in the middle of the night. She got up with her walker to walk to the bathroom, and she fell and she broke her hip. Yeah. When she was in the hospital, they did her hip surgery, and in that, I knew she was gonna be in there for like 2 or 3 days, and my mom told me, "You need a break." A friend of mine named Nikki needed. She was moving to Las Vegas, and with her and her daughter and her mom, and she asked for my help. So I left my mom at the hospital. I went and picked up my friend Nikki from her house in Torrance, loaded her stuff up into a U-Haul, and drove them out to Las Vegas. Unloaded it. Was there for like a day and a half. My mom calls me and says, "Grandma's out of surgery, but she's not waking up. Like, she's not like coming out of the anesthesia, So, so I'm on the next thing smoking. I go home, and it's like a day later. I get to the hospital. It's like 10 o'clock at night. I get there. I walk in the room, and I could like see like my grandmother like kind of like rousing, and I'm like, "You guys, she hasn't talked. She's not awake. She hasn't opened her eyes." That's what they tell me. She hasn't opened her eyes. I walk over to her and I kind of like lean down in her ear and I say, "Grandma," and she instantly opens her eyes and says, "Eddie," and like we had that connection, dude. Like, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was just her and I for 11 years, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we had that bond, and like when she woke up, dude, the nurses like came running over, bro, and they were like crying. My mom was crying. Like, they were like, "We didn't think she was gonna wake up. Like, we didn't know what was going on. Like, we've been talking to her. We've been trying to wake her up for like 2 days. Like, and I'm like sitting there like, like I could tell when I walked in that she was awake. Like, she just wasn't opening.
Want to deal with your guys' bullshit.
Yeah, it's pretty much, dude. But like, yeah, I mean, my grandma has something special, dude. So when she passed, man, like, it threw me like into like I just couldn't deal with life anymore, man. And like, and then not more than like 3 months later, like Eric came over to my house and was like just hanging out. And we were sitting there and I'm drinking, I'm smoking, just like sitting there, just getting fucking drunk. And he sits there and he tells me this story that it blows my mind. And he tells me, he says, dude, I'm a heroin addict. I've been a heroin addict for 7 years, everyday user. And I'm like, how did I not know? What the hell, dude?
I was in the same boat.
Yeah. Like, what? You know, and he's like, I think I need help. And I go, well, maybe I need help too. You know, and we talked about it, and he was like, well, maybe I'm gonna.
How old were you at this point?
I was 28, 29, something like that, 28, 29. So he goes, so we start trying to devise this plan to get sober, you know? And it was like, it was stupid because he was like, I'm going to go to a methadone clinic and you're going to say you're a heroin addict too. And I'm like, no, bro. I'm like, if I'm going to get, I'm like, if I'm going to get treatment, I'm going to get treatment for what I'm ailing from, you know? So like a couple of days later, I get a phone call and it's him. And he's like, hey, I'm down here at Tarzana Treatment Center in Long Beach. And I'm going to check myself into this place, but I won't do it without you. I'll only do it if you come with me. So I had like all of like 30 seconds to decide.
No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. So I'm just like, dude, let's do it, dude. So I threw my shit in a bag and I it wasn't actually that far from my house at the time. So I drove down there, and I think I may have gotten dropped off, but I got dropped off or whatever, and I go in like with my bag, like thinking I'm getting checked in, you know, and we go through this like whole like check-in process, like orientation process, like the interview thing, and then they're like, all right, well, in 30 days, you'll be checked in to the place, and to not this facility, because this is a women's only facility. You're going to be checked in Tarzana. You
guys went to a women's only facility.
That's what I thought. Well, I mean, that's where we were at to like go through like
take your shot.
Yeah. So right, exactly. You know,
you miss 100%. You don't take.
So, but no, they told me, they were like, look, 30 days. And you're into this other place in LA. And I'm like, in Tarzana, you know?
It's crazy.
And so, yeah, so I asked her, I said, well, what am I supposed to do from now to then? Because like, I'm ready to quit now.
Right.
And she said, well, about that, she said, well, you
stop.
She said, in 30 days. Yeah. But she just don't stop before then. And I said, really? And she goes, because you have to test positive for what you're ailing from when you go in.
They said that?
Yes.
No,
I'm not kidding you.
That's terrible.
I know. Oh. So I thought to myself, well, I got 30 days to just get shit faced.
That's crazy.
To just get as drunk as I can and just do as much as damage as possible to my liver. So I went home and I didn't like go over. I went home and I drank the same amount as I had been drinking, which was roughly 24 beers a day.
But you felt you're like, well, they told me to do it.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I was just like, at this point, I was like feeling fully justified because I'm like, yeah, you told me I could.
Why would you
like,
not?
So at this point, but I still knew. I was like, you know, so about like 3 weeks. So about 3 weeks later, I call Eric and I'm like, are we doing this? And he's like, let me check. And he calls me back and he's like, we're going. He's like, we got a date to go in. It's the 6th of April. And so I called my dad and I said, would you come pick us both up at 5 o'clock in the morning and drive us out to this facility and drop us off? You know, my dad said, no problem. So he comes over and Eric stays the night at my house that night. And in the morning hours, we both woke up at like 4 o'clock in the morning and I drank a 6-pack and Eric did his thing and loaded up on, you know, what he was going to load up on. And, you know, and we went and we got dropped off there. And it was one of the craziest experiences I've ever had being in that place. We were in Tarzana Treatment Center for 2 weeks. I was in there for 2 weeks. We were supposed to be in there for a long time. It was a very interesting experience. Like when I got checked in, the guy who checked me in was named Dante Spector. And I asked him, I said, yeah, in relation to Phil, because it was like right when the trial was going on with Phil Spector. And he looks at me, he goes, yeah, that was my dad. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, and so we literally watched the trial of his father being convicted of murder with him in that rehab facility. It was a wild experience, bro.
Awkward.
Very wild experience. And he said he didn't, actually, look, I can't remember too much about the history of him, but from what I remember is he said he didn't know his dad too well, and or didn't spend too much time with him, and then that was it. His story was extremely interesting. And then I was in a dorm room with like 15 other dudes, and it was just like, I mean, within like our arm's length, I could touch the other beds, and the guy next to me on my left, it was named Josh. Really sweet guy, but he was just struggling, man. And he was coming down off of a multi-year heroin binge himself, you know, as it was Eric, you know, and this guy was, you know, all night long cursing and screaming. And it's just like, it was a very strange environment because you have all these people who are trying to be supportive of each other, getting sober and becoming clean, you know, at the same time, it's volatile. It's very volatile. You know, people are coming, they're court ordered from LA County Jail, which is, you know, one of the most dangerous men's holding facilities, like, you know, in the country, you know? So it's interesting dynamics. You know what I mean? Like, I remember one time there was this guy sitting there, this redhead dude, and he was sitting on his bench, and he had just got there, and he's like back and forth. And I'm like, and I walk up to him and I sit next to him. I'm like, what's up, dude? Like, we were all trying to be cool to each other, you know? This dude's like on one, bro. Right. Like, just on one, bro. And he's like, I gotta get out of here, dude. And I'm like, you know, you can leave at any, like, this is voluntary, dog. Like, you can walk out the front door, bro. And he's like looking around, dude, and he just fucking makes a fucking beeline for the exit, like the back exit, like he was gonna get somebody chasing him.
Yeah.
Boom, out the door. Like, an emergency alarm goes out. He's out. He's gone. One of his shoes is out. He's gone, dude. And like, nurse comes up. It's like, did he just run away?
Did he just do what I think he did?
Yeah, dude. I'm like, I guess, like, you know what I mean? Like, maybe his family dropped him off and expected him to stay or something like that. But dude, I mean, it was a very interestingly, and
so hard, man.
I mean, addiction is an extremely.
I've dropped brothers off at rehab facilities, and unless they want to be there.
Yeah. No, dude, for sure, bro.
It's a leap of faith.
100%, dude. And I guarantee you, if I had gone into that place and it was someone else's idea, and they were like, yeah, you got to go. Like, it was some intervention bullshit. Like, I guarantee you I would have been out. I would have drank the moment I got out of there. In fact, I'll be honest with you, like, the 2 weeks there helped me in a great way. It helped me in an unbelievable way. It gave me enough buffer without alcohol to, like, kickstart my own rescue and recovery once I got out, you know?
What is it about rehab that you think is actually beneficial?
For me, it was literally the lack of availability to the actual drug. So for me, it was straight up not having access to it. Straight up. 100%. It was literally giving me the buffer of like, okay, now I know what it feels like. Now my body is like reacclimated to knowing what it feels like to not having alcohol in it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And that.
But what do they fill you up with? Do you
bro,
feel like you're filled up?
They gave me this anti-seizure medication. It's funny because when I got checked in.
Literally filled up.
Oh, yeah, dog. When I told the doctor when I got in. I was
thinking more like words of wisdom.
Oh, no. Like, it was meds. Like, it was straight meds, dude. Like, it was a detox facility. Like, I got there and I told the doctor, I was like, I'm sorry, man. Like, I know I'm in here for alcohol and everybody else is in here for like meth or like opiates or like heroin.
Do you know what I think of right when you say that?
What?
Have you ever seen the movie Half Baked?
Yeah.
You're in here for weed.
Oh, this man. Exactly.
I feel like that was the vibe.
Dude, there was a kid in there who was in there for Monster Energy drinks, bro.
I believe it. I've thought about it. I've thought about it. So, dude, I'm like, I'll take energy drinks all the time. I'm like, man, I feel like I need to
go to rehab for this.
Like, boo this man.
So no, but the doctor goes, no, man. He goes, you're good, dude. He goes, actually, you're the only person who like legit needs to be here for medication because the alcoholics can actually seize. Like, you can die from not having alcohol in your system. Yeah, he goes, the heroin addicts, they're not going to seize up from not having heroin in their system. He goes, you will. He goes, you actually have a risk of like severe injury, which like we need to give you anti-seizure medication. And bro, that shit was strong. Bro, I couldn't get out of bed for like 18 hours after they gave it to me. I told the doctor, he comes back and sees me. I was like, dude, whatever you gave me, give me less. Give me way less. Yeah. You know, he was like, all right, what's wrong? I was like, I can't stay awake. He's like, all right. He like pulled the dose down and it was like, it helped a lot. But dude, that was a crazy experience. But I'll tell you, that was just the buffer. Once I got out of there, and by the way, it was literally the guy screaming in the bed next to me constantly at night that I literally woke up one day and was like, I cannot fucking do this. Like,
was he also there for alcohol, or was
he was there for heroin? Okay. And I was like, but I needed to sleep. I was like, listen, I'm going on day 12 of no sleep and trying to stay sober. I'm like, I need to care for myself in a physical manner if I'm going to be sober. If I'm going to do this, I need to fucking get some rest.
So
I checked myself out. Well, I asked the counselor. I was like, listen, I know I'm supposed to be here for like a month. Yeah. I'm like, let's talk.
Can I graduate?
You know what I mean? Yeah, let's talk. You know what I mean? And my counselor like gave me like a full on like long interview, and then full on like gave me like check me out, like was like, all right, we're gonna like check you out. So I checked out. I go home. Eric comes with me. He's like, I can't stay if you're not staying. He comes with me, but he checks into like a 30-day facility. He goes into a different facility, right? Like he like bounced, to a different facility for like a month or 3 months. I can't remember. So he was getting care for himself, which was great at the time. Unfortunately, that story, Eric ended up passing later on that year. For those of you who don't know Eric or are listening, he overdosed. He relapsed and overdosed. His body couldn't take any amount of opiates at the time, and just a small amount was enough. And so, I love Eric. I love my brother. I wouldn't be here sober if it literally wasn't for him making that phone call. Hey, man, I'm not doing this unless you come with me. You know what I mean? I owe my sobriety to him and his family. I really do. I owe my life to him and his family. And every time I think about having a beer, I literally think about him and his family. And I think to myself that, Liz, his mom, would, I can't even imagine the disappointment. You know what I mean? Like, it's not even my own family at this point. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, so anyway, but yeah, so Eric went to a different facility at the time. And when I got out, I went home. And I remember the only thing that kept me sober for the next 17 years, and really was like 2 years of like wanting to drink every day, but having to tell myself this one thing. I made a deal with myself every day. I would say, I will drink tomorrow. I'm going to go buy myself a tall can or a couple beers tomorrow. I'll go buy myself a 6-pack in the morning. First thing in the morning, 6 a.m., I will buy myself that beer. And then the next morning would come, and 6 a.m. would come, and I'd wake up, and I would make that deal with myself again that day. I promise I'll get it tomorrow. I promise you I'll get it tomorrow. I'll get it tomorrow, just not today. Just not today. I'm just not going to do it today. I'll buy that. I'll buy the beer tomorrow. I'll even buy it later tonight. I just can't buy it right now. Yeah. I just can't do it this morning. I cannot go get that 6-pack right now. I promise I'll go get it later. And I kept promising myself that I would drink the next day. I kept just making a deal with myself that if I put it off for now in this moment, that I would satisfy that itch and that urge at a later time. And I just would promise that to myself, but I never did. And I just you know what I mean? Like I literally stayed sober off of like broken promises to myself.
No, I love it. I love it.
It's crazy.
So I owned a gym for 10 years, right? And I would tell my clients all the time, because like whatever the addiction is, it's the same thing. Where I would tell them, your addiction is the best salesman in the world, but that salesman knows exactly what it is they need to say in order to get you to buy.
Right.
And you need to come up with the responses in order to push that salesman out of your door.
Right.
And that's the thing. It's the salesman knows how to sell the vacuum because it knows exactly what it is that the problems you're trying to fix.
Of course.
And it's a battle, man.
It not only knows the problems you're trying to fix, it literally knows where the stains are.
Yeah. And,
you know what I mean?
It knows the words that
it knows everything.
You. It knows everything about you, and knows exactly what it needs to say in order to close the sale. So how are you gonna do it? You carry that with you?
That's mine right now.
Okay.
I still smoke cigarettes.
Okay.
This is my addiction right now. This is the one I'm trying to stop right now. This is my.
So what keeps you smoking?
Nothing.
You?
Me.
The salesman?
Yeah, the salesman.
Getting the sell every single time?
Yeah. And dude, like I sing.
But you don't want to do it.
No, 100%. No, not only do I not want to do it, I know that my singing voice depends on me stopping. The longevity of my.
Can you think of one
being
good
able to
reason
sing?
why you should keep doing it?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But when I sit down at the poker table with my buddies on Thursday night and I crack a non-alcoholic beer, by the way, I still drink non-alcoholic beer. I enjoy that. I crack a non-alcoholic beer, take my cigarette out, have a smoke while I'm playing poker on Thursday nights. It's a habit, dude.
I'm not speaking from a place of judgment.
You are though.
No, I'm really not.
I'm kidding.
I have my own habits, right?
Sure.
But a habit perpetuates the action.
Sure.
Right. But it's really like we both know if you could press a button, yes or no, whether you smoke one of these again in the rest of your life, you would press no.
Right.
And as long as it didn't come with any,
And really what would happen? Nothing, except for I would have some uncomfortable moments for a couple weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. And even those, you would rationalize it and know for a fact that those would fade over time.
Yeah, and
become a non-problem.
Yeah, and the uncomfortable moments are legitimately only mental anyway with this. It's not like you're like going through like, not like you're going through like physical withdrawals that are like you're having like respiratory issues. You know what I mean? Like
you hear for some cigarettes. Because you've quit something so much more like biologically impactful. That you would expect more.
Well, you would think that with alcohol is like that. And I'll be honest with you. Here's what I feel. I feel like no addiction is necessarily stronger than another. I just feel like whatever addiction that you're harboring at that time is the most difficult addiction in the world.
But it's also like the amount of attention that it deserves, right? Like, so alcoholism, like, it attracts a certain amount of attention.
Oh, dude,
right?
You've got to be,
yeah. You feel like you can go under the radar forever. No one gives a shit if you smoke.
Right,
like,
right.
Nobody gives it.
Right,
and that's where
it's not affecting your behavior.
Well, that's where pill poppers get off the hook because no one ever sees them pop the pill.
Interesting.
Like a cigarette, at least you have to deal with the guilt of like, people see me smoking.
Yeah.
Like I'm doing it. Everybody, right. I'm doing it. But people that pop pills, like they feel like they're skating by. They don't, there's no shame.
Yeah.
And the problem with society in general is there's a lack of shame.
Yeah.
And people that pop pills, they feel like they can just do it under the radar.
Should we bring back bullying?
I mean, so bullying in general.
I mean, he's telling me there's a lack of shame here. I'm wondering if we should bring back bullying now.
I mean, you're pressing the issue, and I'm not going to back away from it. Like being a dick, should be bad, right? But like people should feel shame.
It's right. Well, I think it goes to also in a general health issue because people.
Well, that's where cigarettes come in.
Right. People should want to be healthy. I mean, yeah, dude, listen. Yeah, exactly. Somebody should walk by and say, "You fucking dirty smoker,
Look at you.
Look at you. You know what I mean? Like, maybe that would make me want to stop for sure.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Hey, look at that fucking guy over there.
having that moment. Look at that piece of shit over there, guys. Shame.
They're like, I'm just trying to enjoy his smoke, man.
I know, dude. Well, I mean, hell, dude. So
there's a healthy element of shame in a society.
Sure,
and when
course.
we pretend like every action is equal,
acceptable,
to every other
and right,
yeah, we start to lower our standard for what the ideal is,
right?
And health is an ideal. Shame is more about recognizing the guilt that comes along with an action that you know is not aligned with your moral compass.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Stop smoking. I don't know.
You know what, dude? You're right.
It felt like the thing to say.
In conclusion,
throw
those in the trash.
That's crazy. No, it's really it's very interesting because I understand the predicament.
Yeah.
Like there's really no why we do things that we don't.
We know are not good for us.
We know are not good for us. That we know the payoff isn't that great.
Right.
But why not? Is like the default mindset, right?
I don't know, dude. I don't know. And but
we don't want to give it up.
Yeah, I don't
like
know.
I don't want you. I don't want when you don't want something to make sense and to accept it as truth. It's so fucking hard.
I think there's just an element of also like life is short and people want to live their lives and do some of the things that they enjoy and have fun doing.
Is that a good way of thinking though?
No, not necessarily. In fact,
because I think it might be.
As a matter of fact, I think it's counter to being happy and fulfilled. Hear me out. I really do feel like, especially like, and I could attest to this, some of the most fulfilling times in my life have come from when I've been the most self-disciplined. When I get up at 6 a.m. to go to the gym and I'm doing I'm making the right decisions for myself. I'm eating right. I'm working out constantly. I'm focused. I'm productive. You know, happiness is fleeting. Happiness is it's not something that we can like hold on to 24/7 forever, always.
The pleasure.
Right. Well, I mean, because happiness is like a state that, you know, it comes and goes. Life happens. Like people you love have, you know, fall down and get hurt. Somebody might get sick. Things happen in your life that make you emotionally go with the flow, right? But so my point is that happiness isn't necessarily 100% of the time achievable or attained. However, we can create more moments of happiness in our lives if we if we make decisions that are more fulfilling to us, which means like if we make the decision that we know is better for us than the instant gratification that we would choose in the moment, like not smoking the cigarette. You know what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? So when we choose those things more often than not throughout our day, when we go and throughout our day, we have all these choices to make. It's, you know, and we choose the more self-disciplined option, and it makes our lives just that little tiny percent better, you know, and it creates that little more moment of happiness. What happens is we end up creating moments of happiness that are longer in duration and closer in frequency.
Right.
So our lives become more sustainably like enjoyable. We start creating realities for ourselves that are are the best version of what we want to live in. But that comes with that's a constant uphill motion your entire life.
Right.
Because the moment you plateau and you start enjoying those little things and blah, 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 and you smoke those cigarettes and stuff, it's almost like you slide all the way back down to the bottom. It's like a constant motion of like, you know, you got to just keep doing the things that fulfill you, you know, do the things that are instant gratification a little less, and you'll start creating a life, an actual reality for yourself, not moments of enjoying the little things, but actual life that will pay you way higher dividends. You know, like for instance, if I stop smoking these cigarettes, I will have a voice that will last another 30 plus years. Do you see what I'm saying? If I keep smoking the cigarettes, I get to keep having my poker nights. I get to keep smoking my cigarettes during poker. I get to keep smoking my cigarettes at night before I go to bed, having a smoke, and, you know, and doing what I enjoy in the moment.
But you know, like that's the story, right? Because you still get to have your poker nights.
For sure. I mean, I don't mean like I don't get to play poker, but I mean like,
but that's what we create, right?
I know,
because we go like, well, then this and this and that. When I see people smoke cigarettes, to be honest with you, I see an adult with a pacifier. Like it's like pacifying, like pleasure.
Nah, cigarettes are cool.
Shut your mouth.
He's calling me a fucking baby over here.
No, I mean, I'm just being honest. I really
listen.
But on the other side, I totally get it, because I have the same conversations in my head with my bad habits, with my flaws in the world.
But you don't have any actual bad habits. I mean, having a brownie every once in a while isn't a bad habit, dude.
I can't do a brownie. Freak me out. No, I have my own bad habits, and like energy drinks are bad.
Cheat days aren't bad habits, dude. When you have a pizza, that's not a bad habit. You're good.
I am so flawed.
Brad is like the least flawed person.
No, please, no. I am so flawed just as much as anybody. You know, I have the same conversation. Well, life is short.
Right.
You know, well, hey, I do this, but I don't do X, Y, and Z. And that's worse than what I'm doing. Therefore, you know, it's always the therefore conversations. I don't do that, therefore this is okay. This is acceptable. And you know, we all struggle with that. And that is the human struggle.
Right.
Of like, we're never going to be perfect.
Yeah.
We're all flawed, and it's a matter of how we reconcile our flaws with our value systems. And some people have value systems that we can both look at and go like, wow, you really got it. You got it, you know, zeroed in. And, you know, we're all and most people live in the 99% gap where we're all calibrating constantly.
I say that's like 95. I say there's a good 5% of us like that are like, okay. And I'll reference this. If you're watching this, go watch or listen to a lecture called The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. And he talks about this very thing about what we're talking about here, kind of reaches back to what we were talking about earlier about knowing what you want, asking what you want, knowing what you want, and then going after that thing in your life, and not being blown by the wind to wherever you go in life.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He says that our minds are like a giant freightliner in a harbor, right? It's good. We have the power to go anywhere we want in this world.
Right.
As long as but most people, they start the engine, they turn the thrusters on, and they just let it go wherever it's going to go.
Yeah.
Whereas if we put a navigator, a captain, a crew, and a destination in that vessel, and we said, we're going to go here, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get to where you're going. You see what I'm saying? But like you said, the 99% of us who don't have it figured out or whatever, I think that's like more like 95. But I think that, I think that could be all solved by literally putting the crew and the captain and the navigator and saying, where do I want to go?
Yeah.
And answering that question, and they say, okay, I want to do that in my life. That's it.
And to add on to that, I feel like most of us know what right and wrong is. Like, of course. I could identify 3 things that I should stop doing in my daily life that are not serving where I'm trying to go.
Yeah.
But there's that reconciliation of, immediate pleasure, instant gratification. Life is short, and why am I trying to be perfect? And we all live in that gray.
Yeah.
And it's that is the human that is the human experience. And
yeah, it is.
I don't feel guilt about it, but I'll grapple with it because that's what I'm supposed to do. Like I'm meant to grapple with it.
Well, you want to be the best version of yourself.
Right.
I think we all do. I think we all want to be the best versions of what we think we should be. Yeah. And I think a lot of the times
without letting that pressure rob us of
which it does, which it does, because we're all that really goes to that saying, like, you're your own worst critic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? About everything, because that's exactly.
It goes deep.
Yeah, 100%. Because you think my potential's here, but I'm doing this.
Right.
Even if nobody is calling you on it, you should be calling yourself. I mean, most people are calling themselves on it, even if it's not warranted. But do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and for me, to be honest, like I've kind of struggled with this a little bit. Like I talk to my brothers all the time. My brothers all struggle with different things, and they have a really hard time communicating with me because they feel like, well, you're different.
Yeah.
you're doing different things. Therefore, you're in a different place. And I go like, no. Like I'm right here with you.
Right.
Like this is hard for me, and I have my own thoughts, and I battle and I struggle and I grapple. It's like it's a very human thing.
It's funny. I think that you're right about that, but I don't think it's necessarily in everybody. Like I don't think everybody feels that. I can tell you right now that I know a significant portion of the population is completely content with where they're at.
You think so?
100%.
I don't know, man.
100%, dude. Those people who think they have it figured out, if you walk around life thinking you have it all figured out,
you're doing the worst.
Where is there any room for you to feel like you can improve yourself?
Right.
If you don't think you're doing anything wrong, how are you going to do anything better or properly? If you already think that everything you're doing is the best and exact way to live life, and there's a lot of motherfuckers out there with that Dunning-Kruger mindset. You know what I'm saying? Like, with like, I do everything right. I'm the shit. I know exactly what's happening. And they're dumber than fucking bricks, dude.
Those people, I don't admire them at all. But I kind of put them in a different box, because it's like they're not grappling with life and like the experience of life.
Their self-awareness is just not even not even there.
Yeah, it's almost like an
NPC.
Yeah, like, exactly. And I feel like the people that are going through life are struggling, and that I feel like life is suffering.
Okay, that's very
life
very
is,
Russian.
It is that's very Eastern European. Absolutely,
That is
Greg.
the word I've been looking.
You nailed that.
In Russia, life is suffering.
Yes, exactly. That's a very fucking Eastern European cold life way of thinking.
No, life is suffering. And that is where growth happens. It's a beautiful thing.
I'll tell you what, right now that there are very few better motivators. You know what I mean? Than rock bottom, than suffering, than, experiencing, something that the world gives you that's not what you expected, that's not aligned with your existence, and whether it's a physical, a mental, emotional, whatever. Yeah, man. I mean, that's there. I feel like that's sometimes there's no greater motivator to do better, to be better, to do what needs to be done. Yeah. So, I mean, I also think that life is beautiful.
Exactly. And I think that when there's some that believe a life, there's a sense of entitlement, like life needs to be, full of happiness and perfection.
But I think we all want that.
Yeah,
and I don't think there's anything wrong or unreasonable about wanting that.
It's about finding the beauty in the cracks. There's a counterbalance to like that, the happiness of life, and embracing the fact that there is suffering at every part of, falling in love and risking losing that love, experiencing happiness and then risking losing that happiness. Suffering is embedded in what makes beauty and love possible. Yeah. Like it's an acceptance.
Well, I think the fact that there is suffering, essentially, what it does is it helps us frame the happiness. It helps us frame the wins, the beautiful things in our lives. And you said it's about finding the beauty in the cracks, but maybe if you let the cracks grow up enough, the grass will grow over everything else. The grass from inside the cracks that you find beautiful will end up taking over everything. Because do you see what I'm saying? My point.
But in reality, it's like the idea that suffering is a constant. Say the beauty, like it goes over the cracks. You love somebody and you grow old with them and you love them and everything's great. Eventually, one of you two are going to die.
Sure, that doesn't mean life is suffering.
No, life isn't suffering, but it is in existence at all points of time.
Sure,
and acceptance of that, and even knowing that, seeing the beauty as brighter than the suffering is life. It's the people that refuse to see the suffering as a reality in a constant and inevitability of life have the hardest time grappling with it.
I feel a lot of those people in general who you're describing, I feel like those particular people may have not experienced much suffering.
Exactly.
No,
exactly. The people that have experienced suffering the least have the less ability to handle it. And that's why I find, you could see in somebody's eyes the fact that they've
been through some shit.
Yeah, been through some shit.
Yeah. The suffering is only suffering when you assign it negativity.
Yeah.
If you allow the things in your life to come in and go out and be integral instead of making them positive or making them negative, then I think that we could frame suffering slightly differently.
Wait, am I framing suffering in the negative way?
It's called suffering.
I don't see it as a negative thing.
But I mean, here's the thing: it's you're saying that suffering is necessary for. It's necessary because the contrast is necessary to have enjoyment.
I see it as a.
You're saying it's a path.
It's a fact of life, and I believe what you're saying, framing that in the positive is how you get to the beauty, not sitting in it. So we might be saying the same thing.
Yeah, in a roundabout way. It sounds like it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's awesome. Eddie, dude, thank you, man. I appreciate you.
All right, we'll get to the movies and the film and the music next time.
Yeah, we will.
All right, for sure. All right, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it, brother.
You almost said it again.
What did I say?
You're almost going to say thanks for being on.
No, I just said thanks for having me. I did it right this time, all right? All right. See you later, man. Take care, Greg.
Okay, great time.